Hello everyone, welcome to TalentEgg Talks, coming to you from the safety and comfort of our own homes. Joining me today is Trevor Buttrum of the Career Connections at Insurance Institute of Canada. My name is Mary Barrell and I'm president of TalentEgg, and I'm very happy to be hosting TalentEgg Talks today. Trevor is a Career Connections program manager at the Insurance Institute of Canada. Career Connections runs programs to help students and recent grads learn about the insurance industry and how to hatch a successful career in insurance. Trevor has over 15 years of experience in career development and campus recruitment. He was also the past winner of the TalentEgg Campus Recruiter of the Year Award. Thank you for joining us, Trevor.
Thanks so much for having me, Mary. I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
We asked our community of students and grads to submit questions for you today. And to all of you out there who submitted questions, thank you very much. We're going to try and get to as many as we possibly can in the next half hour. But to get started, Trevor, maybe you could give us a little bit of background about what Career Connections do, what you do at Career Connections, and how it helps students and grads learn about the insurance industry.
Absolutely. So Career Connections, as you mentioned, Mary, is a program and division of the Insurance Institute of Canada. Our role is really to help students to find their place within the industry, to discover how their background, their skills, their experience can really translate into a rewarding career path. So we work with about 60 campuses across the country and do about 120 events per year. Our role on campus is, again, to bring real-life professionals to kind of answer questions, to be there as a resource to explore how insurance works and the pivotal role that it plays in our society, and also really to connect to top employer brands. So bringing our industry partners with us for recruiting events, as well as opportunities to discover, what new grad programs are available and how you can make that transition from school to work.
Well, as you might imagine, especially now in this world where we're thinking about the future, we've got a whole lot of questions from students and grads, and I think we should just get to them now. Amy from the University of Toronto asked, what are some of your tips for getting comfortable with video interviewing?
I think video interviewing, it's been around for a while, but not necessarily a necessity as it is today. I think one of the things with video interviewing to remember is that it's similar in a lot of ways to any interview. So preparation is key, practicing the STAR method, those key questions, getting comfortable talking about your skills and experience in digestible and bite-sized ways for employers to be able to really get a feel for who you are and what you have to offer. I think when we get into the nuance or what's different and how you can practice, even just using your mobile device, recording yourself, getting comfortable, seeing yourself reflected back or mirrored on a screen, reaching out to even friends or family or even your career counselors in your career center for a practice interview, could be really beneficial just for preparing for the virtual interview format. And if you know that it's going to be a timed interview, so for example, if it's one of the virtual platforms where there's a little bit of a countdown happening on the side of your screen, practicing your answers, not getting to a point where you're scripted, but just getting comfortable with working in shorter time frames so that you know what that pressured feeling kind of is going to be like, and you can work within that sometimes tough to navigate or a little bit scary or intimidating at first framework.
Yeah, that sort of countdown can really be nerve-wracking when you see those numbers going down to 1. So that's really great advice. We've got another question from Ivan from Sheridan College. How do I find a job during the COVID-19 pandemic? Should I wait until the economy reopens?
I think that's a really great question, Ivan. I think the challenge, right now is that there are so many unknowns. So waiting until the pandemic is over, or that we, are, seeing the economy reopen to to the extent that it was prior to the onset of COVID-19, I think is maybe doing yourself a disservice. I think it's really important to foster virtual connections, to do your research, to polish that resume, to update your LinkedIn profile, to add value and content on social media that's relevant to the kinds of things that you're interested in and where you see your career going. Following professional associations, if that's relevant for your field of interest. Within the insurance industry, there are several, and they're producing some really great virtual content, even virtual networking, coffee chats or cocktail hours that you can be a part of and get your name out there and continue to navigate towards the career of choice for you.
Yeah, the world isn't stopping. It's just in a different sort of format, and we're all kind of going virtual, right? And especially now when some of the networking events are going virtual, having that confidence to join that effectively and being open to exploring different kinds of experiences of networking.
Absolutely. And I think the important thing to remember is that in the initial sort of moments, I think there was a feeling of crisis, right? And there was a feeling that the world needed to stop and pause and give everybody a little bit of time to catch up. So I think patience is really important here. It's always been a key element to the job search process, but I think it's even more important to recognize that there are competing priorities. Individuals in the recruiting space have unexpected coworkers in their family being at home as well, or perhaps furry friends who are needing their attention because they're home more and more. Some are homeschooling if they have younger children. And so I think there's just a new kind of balance and rhythm to life. And so we've settled into what those habits and rhythms could look like for the next little while. And I think we're starting to see reemergence and kickstarting with recruiting and a little bit of like looking ahead and forward. I think it's still tentative. So don't be discouraged if you're not seeing hundreds of job postings right now. That doesn't mean that recruiters aren't looking. It just means that they're not sure what those opportunities are necessarily going to look like. So continuing to keep those connections warm, developing new skills, honing sort of your elevator pitches, getting comfortable with the virtual environment is only going to serve you really, really well right now. So continuing to job search, continuing to hone your job search practice, I think is key.
You mentioned working on the resume. One of the questions came in asking you to respond to the question of what are your top resume do's and don'ts, what makes a good resume versus a bad one?
I think there are obviously standard norms and things that you want to be paying attention to. So no more than that 2 to 3 pages. The more compact and content, high impact content, if you will, the better. You want to focus on achievements rather than just stating your responsibilities. You want to walk the employer through and help them understand and see sort of the context in which you've worked, the context in which you learn, so the relevant courses that you've taken, the volunteer and community engagement or student clubs and groups that you're involved with. All of these things comprise the elements of a really strong resume. I think what we want to avoid, as I mentioned sort of earlier, is that just simple listing of duties or responsibilities. Employers really want to hear more about how often, how many individuals you worked with, customers you served, how you were able to increase sales or visibility, or anytime that you can quantify or focus on those achievements, I think all the better. Of course, free from spelling mistakes, free from grammatical errors, as clean and easy to read as possible. All of those are what make a great resume.
I actually heard an employer say that a good interview question might be in the future, what did you do with your time during the COVID-19 crisis? Do you anticipate that that's going to be part of the story that students should be telling about, what they did and showing what they're passionate about, or how they use their time in a productive way?
I think so, Mary. I think, we're shifting, I guess, the expectation that a student has, had a summer co-op experience or, a summer internship, that might have been disrupted. And so the question more becomes about, what kinds of activities or what kinds of things were they undertaking during this time that would help them continue to skill build. Did they continue with courses? Did they learn a new language? Did they, continue to job search? Did they volunteer or give back in some way? The same, just to remember is that there isn't one perfect answer here. It's how you want to be reflected and how you want to be known to an employer is best how you can shape this time and the ways that you're contributing or growing your own competency at this point. The key is not to put too much pressure on yourself. We're not expecting, that you single-handedly solve the PPE problem. We're expecting that you use the time as constructively and as even just to serve your own purposes as much as you could. So please don't feel that it needs to be extravagant or grandiose in any way. Same with any job or any experience that you've had. Know that it's a value and that it's going to be all of these little things add up to a really great candidate.
That's great advice. I wonder, are there new roles that are emerging as a result of the COVID-19 crisis in the insurance industry that you might want to tell us about?
I think there are a few things to highlight. So one, the technological disruption that we were anticipating is being accelerated as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so disruption doesn't necessarily equal bad. It just means a new way or a new sort of mode of doing things. And so, for example, claims, being reported with photos or with using portals and technology versus necessarily having an adjuster come into your home right now. So we're looking at sort of expanding the use of those tools, honing them, refining them. So the digital and technical roles within the insurance industry to support that work are definitely on the rise. That was natural beforehand, and I think now even more of an imperative. The other thing is roles that were emerging, like in cybersecurity, things related to life sciences underwriting, even risk management. Right now, very pivotal in the space. I have a colleague who, for example, is a risk manager of the temporary structures that have been built in anticipation of issues within our healthcare system should they become overwhelmed, being able to provide recovery beds, as well as maybe working with street-involved individuals or individuals who don't have a place to self-isolate, giving them a comfortable and safe space. And that requires risk management and planning, and insurance professionals are at the forefront of that.
Well, I wanted to get to some more questions from our students. Odanayu from the University of Waterloo wants to know what a career in insurance can look like long-term. What is a possible or common career path?
That's a really great question in terms of just understanding that insurance has a whole lot of opportunity to present and to offer for anyone who's seeking a career that has challenge, reward, opportunity for advancement, the chance to continually hone your skill sets and develop Insurance is committed to that kind of growth mindset and philosophy. The thing to remember as well is that insurance has a multitude of operational as well as support functions. So it's difficult to say every insurance professional's career path looks like this, like one thing. In fact, many have career paths that look much more like a squiggly line than a linear trajectory. So it's about understanding what you're passionate about and what kinds of problems you want to solve, the kind of work that you want to do when it comes to your career. So is it, working with people and helping them understand something that's relatively complex and strategizing with them? Then maybe it's being a broker is for you. If it's making decisions and evaluating risk and building relationships, then maybe it's a career in underwriting. If you've got a career path that might involve working with people at times of crisis, maybe then you're thinking about claims. So it's ultimately up to you to steer your career in the direction that you want to go based on your passions, your interests, and your background and experience. So I would encourage candidates to do research using the Career Connections website, visiting sort of where we are on TalentEgg with our profile and some of the great articles that we've been able to produce with you, just highlighting what a day in a life could look like. And so that kind of research can give you insight in terms of where your career could go and what might be the best path for you. The final thing that I'll mention is that if you're unsure of where to start, there's a quiz that you can take. You can do that on our website, and it is very quick, but it gives you some roles to explore based on who you are and what you bring to the table.
That's great. Mahua from Humber College submitted the following question. I'm currently studying business management and I'm looking for a marketing and administration related career. Are marketing roles in demand in the insurance industry? And if so, how can I start to build a network?
Marketing and communications in the traditional sense, they are in demand. So insurance have brands that need to be marketed to consumers as well as to each other so that they understand what they have available in terms of products and services. I think business development is also another area of the industry that folks need to be able to explore. And so, there is opportunity to work with that broker community, to be able to work with claims community if you're maybe on tertiary kind of restoration companies or that kind of thing. We need to build brand that way as well. So again, that community of practice truly understands the products, tools, and options available for their clients. I think there's also opportunity within the digital space right now to be just talking about insurance brands and the way that they help communities, the way that they are, employing really great people, what engagement looks like within their organizations. So again, just putting it out there that there are lots of different kinds of marketing and communications within the industry, and you need to find the niche that feels right for you. So definitely explore it. Definitely know that there's opportunity for you within that space.
That's terrific. Juliet from Sheridan College asked, am I required to have an insurance certification before I can qualify for a position in the industry?
Insurance education is not a requirement to join the sector. Your post-secondary education is likely going to be the gateway and open the door for you. Of course, any technical knowledge or relationships within the industry that you can build or experience that you can kind of nurture, I think you have the opportunity to, offer yourself a distinct advantage if you pursue those things. So if you have the opportunity to take a course at school, absolutely, we'd encourage you to take it and pursue it. But know that insurance education is not a required element. In fact, most people within the industry earn their designations with the support of their employer while they're already working in the sector.
Great. Arhum from the University of Toronto asked, how can I convey that I want to work as an actuary despite my non-traditional background?
I think in popping up in spaces where actuaries already are, so the Canadian Institute of Actuaries, being a part of networking events where actuaries are being recruited. One of our partners, for example, hosts an open house at their location that's based on their actuarial and data science lab. So a great place to go and network and engage and say, this is where I want to be. Your resume as well, you'd want to reflect, within your experience or within your interests, and even in some cases, the relevant courses that you're taking that would give you the opportunity to, make connections to the actuarial space. So they love math, they love data, they love statistics, they're futurists and really, have the perspective of being able to anticipate what is going to happen and being prepared for the worst, right? And so any ways that you can kind of mirror that back or reflect that back to an employer will easily communicate that this is the destination that you'd like to be a part of. And certainly building out your network to actuaries, maybe even considering alumni from your institution that might be working in that space, and just having conversations with them about how they got there and some of the ways that you might be able to translate your non-traditional background into that environment. But actuaries come in from all different backgrounds and experience profiles, like engineering or mathematics and statistics. They don't all necessarily have needed to pursue that actuarial science degree program.
Great, that's fantastic advice. We also had a question from Khan from Humber College, who asked, why is networking and attending career fairs so important, and how can I do them best virtually? And then he goes on to ask, what tasks or roles are specifically related to an HR coordinator in the insurance industry?
Oh, wow. So a lot of questions in there. So I'll start with the importance of attending networking events. So if we just applied cold to every position that we saw available and didn't necessarily nurture any connection, we're continually in a pile with hundreds of resumes. That's just the reality of job search. And so you may have a winning resume, and yes, it may get pulled to the top often. But you could increase that to even more if you're building your network, right? So for example, if you're networking with an industry professional, at an event, whether that's virtually or face-to-face, you have the opportunity to build a little bit of rapport. You have the opportunity to go a little deeper than what's on your resume, to share with them what your skills and experience and education to date have offered you in terms of preparing you for the opportunities that they have available. You can make greater connection between those things and the roles that they might have on offer. As well, it gives you a point of contact to follow up with if and when you do apply to a position. So you follow process, you obviously complete the application as indicated on the website, but you have a person who you can reach out to and say, I really enjoyed our conversation and felt compelled to apply to this position and just wanted to let you know that I've taken that step. That gives them a little bit of impetus to go and look for it, right? To pull it out, to review it, and to recall all of the really great dialogue and conversations that you've had. So it just adds tremendous value. You may also become aware of opportunities before they're even advertised, or opportunities that won't be advertised at all. And so it just enables you to be a little bit more in the know, if you will. In terms of navigating this virtually, I think it's about preparing yourself for being a little bit uncomfortable and being okay with that. And so it's, practicing, it's reflecting, it's, you know, being prepared with key questions, um, doing a really good job of listening and making connections between what the individual is saying and what you have to offer so that you're connecting all of those dots in really succinct and meaningful ways. The other is to search them out. So, keeping abreast of all the opportunities. So following along on sites like TalentEgg, taking advantage of, the opportunity to be virtual means that you're in front of your computer a lot. So doing your research with core companies and keeping an eye on their websites and what they may have available, and as well staying connected to those professional associations or networks like the Young Insurance Professionals Associations, now popping up across the country. There's one in BC, there's one in Ottawa, there's one in Toronto. What have they got going on virtually that you may be able to stay connected to? In terms of an HR resource coordinator, well, their job is really about identifying and scouting talent. So they're participating in events, they're designing a recruitment campaign, giving people a look behind the curtain as to what the culture of that organization is all about, and what it's like to work in the industry. Doing a little bit of education about what the roles entail. Insurance sometimes is misunderstood or a little bit unknown to candidates. So their role is really about building that awareness, inspiring individuals to engage, and ultimately taking action to apply to their roles.
Great. And I think we have time for one more question. Chloe wants to know which insurance companies are hiring part-time that could potentially turn into full-time. She's in her last semester of school and is interested in getting some experience.
Well, Chloe, the one thing that I can tell you is that there are insurance organizations that do hire, part-time to staff their contact centers or to staff key roles within their organizations, maybe to offer evening hours or respond digitally, that kind of thing. So particularly within claims, the customer service roles that are available, if you're able to obtain your license, working in a direct writer environment, so like an RBC insurance or TD insurance or the cooperators, or being a part of a broker community as well. You will find that there are roles that could fit within the part-time context. What I would suggest is that you, again, take a look at all of the companies, online, visit our job site, keep an eye on what's available, and reach out to organizations that are of interest or that might have those larger contact center environments, or agencies within your community, and seeing if you might be able to work within our branch offices within your community, to see if you might be able to offer your services on a part-time basis. It's happening more and more, it's growing, and employers are also looking to maintain connection with talent that they might ultimately be able to bring on board. So it's a great strategy.
Okay, terrific. Well, we're almost out of time. Thank you everyone for watching. This has just been a fantastic half hour. I wonder, Trevor, if you just had a few words that you might want to leave with our audience today.
Yeah, I think right now, the most kind of important piece of advice that I have is to be kind to yourself and patient with yourself through this process. I know that it can feel like that there's a lot of doom and gloom in the world out there, but there's also a lot of positive. And so know that if you keep your eye on the prize in terms of your career path, keep making those virtual connections, continuing to hone all of the tools that you have that can support your job search process, and really continuing to log the miles and reach out to your career center, reach out to key contacts in your network. All of these things will pay off in the long run, and ultimately, my hope for you is that you connect to that rewarding career path or that rewarding summer position or internship that you're looking for.
Oh, that's Great parting advice, Trevor. Thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you all at home who are watching this today. If you'd like to learn more about Career Connections, you can learn a lot more about it on TalentEgg.ca. And stay tuned for our next TalentEgg Talks. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Stay safe.